Okay, guys, I am here with your ukulele tidbit for this week. And my tidbit today is for people who love the ukulele and maybe have been working on, choosing projects in class during studio time that are about ukulele, but maybe you don't have your own ukulele at home and you want to be able to keep working on getting better at uke stuff so that when we go back to school, you can kind of pick back up where you left off and you haven't lost any of your skills. And maybe you'll even keep learning some new skills. So, what I have done is I have created a practice stick for ukulele, and I'm going to show you how I did mine. And if you have different ideas for how that you could make something like this work, I would love to hear about them. So this is just what I did with the stuff that I had at my house already. So I started with I had some paint stirrer sticks at my house. So I thought this would be a really great thing to use, and I had some really big ones, some like 5 gallon paint ones that are like a little bit bigger and thicker. So that's what I ended up using because that worked best for me. But if you have regular paint stirrer sticks at home, that would work. And if you don't have any of those, a ruler would work too. So any of those things would work just fine. For the strings, I used embroidery floss, which is like sewing thread, okay? Because I have a ton of that at home because I do a lot of sewing. So if you have something like this at home, that's great. If not, you could use yarn, you could use rubber bands. You could really like draw with marker if you needed to, like a Sharpie or something would work if you don't have anything like that. Or like wire would work great too. Anything like that. Okay. Um, so right. So let's start, and I'll show you what I did. So I took my paint stirrer stick, and we know that ukulele has 4 strings. So I cut 4 pieces of my thread, and I cut them all approximately the same length, just so that it would be close enough. And then I looked at the top of my paint stirrer stick, and I just made 4 dots that were kind of the same space apart, okay, for my 4 lines. And then I taped the top of my thread down here, okay, with just one big giant piece of tape around it. So I'll try to get that closer so you can see it. It would help if I showed you the right side, okay. And then all I did was I happened to have some cool washi tape at home, but like scotch tape or masking tape or duct tape would work great for this too. Um, and so I was lucky enough that I had this fat one that I used at the top to kind of keep all the strings down, and there's another piece at the bottom holding them down. And then I had this skinnier tape that I used to mark out my frets. But you could like take masking tape and cut it in half. You could use markers to draw your frets, however you want to do it. And I would recommend my fabulous fail on this project is that I didn't put my fret tape down before and then put my strings over it, which is how it would be on a regular ukulele. I put my strings on first, and then I was like, oh, I have to put the frets on. So my tape is actually on top of my strings, which for practice purposes is fine. It doesn't really matter. But if I would have thought that through, I would have probably put my tape down to mark my frets a little bit sooner. So I only did 5 frets because all of the chords that we have learned this year so far have only been up to like the 3rd or 4th fret. So 5 should be plenty. If you want to make more, you certainly could. But 5 is pretty much all you would need, okay? The first one is like about an inch, a little bit bigger than an inch, and then they get just a teeny, teeny, tiny bit smaller from there. So I totally eyeballed mine. I didn't like measure it out. I didn't make it fancy. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just for practice. If you wanted to measure it, you could. You could start off with an inch and a half and then make everyone, just a tiny bit smaller. And then from here, what I can do is I can practice my fingerings for my chords. Like I know that my C major chord is my 3rd finger, and it is on the 3rd fret on the bottom string. So I could practice that, and I could practice going from there to my A minor chord or my F chord or that really hard G chord that we were working on right before we went to break. Okay. So, if this is something that you think you would like, then make one. I would love to see them. You can send me emails or upload a picture of you practicing with yours to your Google Drive and share it with me, or have your parents stick it in a Facebook comment. But I would love to see your practice sticks. And so every week I'm going to be doing a ukulele tidbit on Fridays. And so this is your tidbit for this week. And then next week I'll have some chords that we're going to work on. But if you are someone who really enjoys playing ukulele, and I know some of you have ukuleles at home, but a lot of you don't. And so this would be a great way that you could still keep following along with our ukulele stuff and work on practicing your own chords without having an instrument at home. Okay?